Hey there guys, welcome to the Nerd Talk Podcast. I'm your host Leland, and in this series I take a few minutes every couple of weeks to recommend a movie for you guys. And in today's video, we're going to talk about Disney's 1951 adaptation of Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. So this film follows a young girl, Alice, who follows a talking rabbit into a magical world of other talking animals, foods that have the power to change her height, a nutbag, queen of hearts, and much more. Now, this film, I'd argue, is one of Disney's best, and it's also one of my all-time favorite films. And it's one of those movies that I don't think you can go wrong with, and there's a few reasons for that. The first one is, I'd argue this is a great allegory for how adults often talk down to kids and just treat them like they're dumb. The biggest example, of course, of this is the Queen of Hearts, with the way she demands everything be done her way and loses her temper at any moment. It's a prime example of how adults will often talk down to kids only to turn around and act like ones themselves. And this can also be backed up in the change in children's literature when Lewis Carroll wrote the Alice in Wonderland books. Before them, it was only focused on making them act better or telling them to be proper and neat and that they were never allowed to be loud. And after these books were released, we slowly but steadily saw children's books that treated them with actual respect, ones that taught good morals but also expressed the importance of letting kids be kids, let them have fun, letting them be a little loud, and letting them learn from their mistakes without treating them like they're bad or dumb. And it's also one of those things that you actually don't think about until you're adults. You rewatch it and you realize, oh, this is actually really relatable. Not the talking animals and magic food, of course, but the idea, again, of just being talked down to by people who claim to have some sort of higher ground just because they're older. And I can testify, especially as Gen Z, that that's something my generation's all too familiar with. Now, the second best thing about this film is the animation/music. It's, I know, an easy compliment to give since it's a Disney movie, but I do think it's worth showcasing what they accomplished in 1951, and especially with this film's short runtime, since it's only about 75 minutes. And the way they seemingly showcase something as peaceful as the Golden Afternoon scene, one of my favorite scenes in the film and one of my favorite songs, with how they're singing about the different kinds of flowers and celebrating the peace and joy you feel on a nice summer afternoon in a garden, only to decide that Alice must be some sort of weed and they cast her aside and treat her like crap. So again, it's, going back to what I originally said, a great example of how adults will act like children for no reason at all, and how Lewis Carroll was almost pointing a finger at those kinds of people, if you will. Or you've got Alice first meeting the Queen of Hearts, and you see all the cards walk for the first time, with the way you see different colors as they march and how they shuffle together seamlessly, I'd argue, is some of the best animation from the 1950s. And you watch the behind-the-scenes features, and you remember that they had to put down one frame at a time for these kinds of films, since, they first did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and even before that, you remember how much patience and work it took, and still takes to this day, to create animated movies that are on this level. Now, of course, we can't end this episode without talking about the voice acting. Catherine Beaumont, if I mispronounced that, I apologize, is, in my opinion, the definitive voice of Alice, and it also helps that she was a kid when she voiced the character. She captures the natural curiosity and the desire to explore the world around her, and you feel her when she's faced with people like the Queen of Hearts, or just faced with constant nonsense throughout this in general. And Sterling Holloway as the Cheshire Cat is equally rememberable. Despite only being in a few minutes of this film, Holloway was one of Disney's favorite character actors, and he played a handful of roles of him, including Kaa in The Jungle Book and Winnie the Pooh in, the main adventures of Winnie the Pooh. And he showcases his skills in this one too, as he shows a natural mischievous side, but also the closest someone in this film actually comes to helping Alice. And Verna Fulton, obviously as the Queen of Hearts, is excellent. She switches from happy and peaceful to a nutcase instantaneously, and it's hilarious just seeing how, again, it's benefited from that desire to have everything done her way, even with Alice trying to go home. She says, your way? No, child, it's my way, and if you don't agree, I'm gonna cut off your head, So again, it's a really hilarious and well done role. And again, it's all amazing just seeing how much they accomplished in such a short runtime, because you remember that oh, this movie's only 75 minutes, and then bam, it's over. But you don't feel any complaints about it, because again, the animation, voice acting are well done, the music is beautiful, and again, they managed to accomplish so much in such a short runtime that you can't help but just feel amazed by it. And again, it's also one of my all-time favorites, and I'd argue one of Disney's best. So those are my thoughts on Disney's Alice in Wonderland. Before I go, I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Nerd Talk Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes of the show. And if you have seen this film, please let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below, or just let me know your favorite Disney movie. And until next time, my name is Leland. Thank you again for listening to the Nerd Talk Podcast, and I hope you have a great day.